Ladies and gentlemen, my friends, compatriots from across the world, I am Nikhil Parekh. I shall be talking about my book titled One God, Poems on God Creator, Volume 3. And I shall also be giving a recitation of different poems from this book of mine. So let me commence with an introduction to this book of mine. This book, which has 50 differently titled poems, is actually volume 3 of the book titled One God, Poems on God Creator, 522 pages. A profound dedication, a ramification of the innumerable omnipotent fragrances of life that I have smelt by the grace of God. I am grateful to Him for enlightening me about His chapters of invincible creation and considering me worthy enough to describe His unparalleled splendor in a few words and in the shape of this book. A salient tribute to His undefeated power. Friends, here is the prologue of the book. The compilation of poems depicts the omniscient Creator in His infinite, unconquerable shapes and forms, goes to irrefutably prove that there is just one Creator. You choose to call Him by whatever name, and for every one of us till the time we live. This book is a perpetual dedication to Almighty Lord. It quintessentially portrays the splendor of the Almighty Creator in His infinite forms, goes to victoriously prove at every step that no matter how hard the devil tries to annihilate the planet, an inconspicuous tap of the Lord's finger makes him crumble to his very last non-existent frigid roots. An inconspicuous tap of the Lord's finger makes him crumble to his very last non-existent roots. About the book. Poems depicting the omnipotent glory of the Creator in an infinite forms that the poet could ever conceive. Natural and uninhibited outpourings of the heart. These poems transport the reader into a world of spirituality and magnificence of Godhead. Every poetic piece shows Parekh's unparalleled love for the Almighty and immortalizes the omnipresent aura of the Lord in a boundless ways and shapes. This spiritually enriched compendium of poems is for all those who have timelessly admired the miraculous prowesses and powers of God at each stage of their lives. Those who have lived each instant of their lives worshipping His omniscient grace, irrespective of the most murderous hell descending around. The poetic imagery brilliantly transcends over every inhibition of caste, creed, color, and religion, and goes to perpetually prove that all living beings are one and blessed in His fathomless sacrosanct light of truth. The poems depict Parekh's oneness in mind, body and spirit with the Creator. Ladies and gentlemen, I will now commence a recitation of different poems from this book. Of course, at any juncture, you can purchase this book of mine from Amazon.com. Currently, this book of mine is in the ebook format at Amazon.com. So here is my poem titled God Loves All Those Hearts. God loves all those fearlessly impeccable eyes which teach countless other haplessly despairing eyes the virtues of pricelessly synergistic humanity. God loves all those perennially smiling lips which teach countless other despairingly desolate lips to uninhibitedly diffuse into an unsurpassable of perennial happiness. God loves all those philanthropically bestowing palms which teach countless other gruesomely maligned palms the art of unflinchingly peerless camaraderie. God loves all those poignantly unbiased streams of blood which teach countless other indiscriminately massacring streams of blood to timelessly bond in the religion of invincibly emollient humanity. God loves all those bounteously eclectic fingers which teach countless other cold-bloodedly butchering fingers to patriotically parade at an unassailable fireball of compassionate united strength. God loves all those bounteously eclectic fingers which teach countless other cold-bloodedly butchering fingers to patriotically parade as an unassailable fireball of compassionate united strength. God loves all those enchantingly enthralling shadows which teach countless other murderously ambiguous shadows to eternally waft the fabric of celestially blessing contentment. God loves all those selflessly sacrificing bones which teach countless other cursedly rotting bones to inexhaustibly march forward with untamed fervor for their brutally estranged mankind, for their brutally estranged motherland. God loves all those spellbindingly evolving brains which teach countless other deliriously frozen brains to culminate into unsurpassable whirlpools of blissful fantasy and insatiable ingenuity. God loves all those simplistically endowing feet which teach countless other squalidly pulverizing feet to holistically blend and walk with the winds of insupportably glorious righteousness till the very end of their lives. God loves all those magnanimously mitigating shoulders which teach countless other turgidly blasting shoulders to indefatigably uplift every fraternity of pessimistically decimated and helplessly maiming living kind. God loves all those innocuously fluttering ears which teach countless other devilishly hearing ears to drift solely towards the tunes of triumphantly emollient goodness. God loves all those resplendently sensitive skins which teach countless other parasitically blood-coated skins to be insupportably tantalized by the unbelievably panoramic treasures of infinite Mother Nature. God loves all those omnipotently preaching tongues which teach countless other ignominiously slandering tongues to sing hymns, to sing the hymns of perennially everlasting equality and ubiquitous brotherhood. God loves all those harmoniously contented stomachs which teach countless other rapaciously macabre stomachs to incredulously relish the fruits of divinely nature without uncouthly spilling blood in every leaf and house. Without uncouthly spilling blood in every leaf and house. God loves all those mischievously frolicking chins which teach countless other despondently beleaguered chins to timelessly cavort in the aisles of inimitably to timelessly cavort in the aisles of inimitably glorious innocence and with the full fervor of mystical life. God loves all those benevolently ebullient silhouettes which teach countless other treacherously murdering silhouettes to irrefutably follow the principles of pricelessly perpetual humanity. God loves all those vividly burgeoning eyelashes which teach countless other amorphously morbid eyelashes to iridescently twinkle into the unparalleled effulgence of uninhibitedly liberated existence. God loves all those eternally fructifying nostrils which teach countless other ferociously cannibalistic of nostrils the quintessentially sacrosanct mantra of live and let live. And God loves all those passionately thundering hearts which teach countless other fretfully extinguishing hearts to immortally bond in the fragrance of unflinching friendship, to immortally love and only love. And God loves all those passionately thundering hearts which teach countless other fretfully extinguishing hearts to immortally bond in the fragrance of unflinching friendship, to immortally love and only love. So now I'll be giving you a recitation of my poem titled The Child of the Lord from this book of mine. So here it is, a recitation of my poem titled The Child of the Lord. Child of the omnipotently everlasting Son was the gloriously ecstatic and flamboyantly pristine ray. Child of the blissfully voluptuous cloud was the ecstatically mesmerizing and seductively fragrant globular water. Child of the enchantingly exotic lotus was the ever-pervading meadow of celestially bountiful and spell-binding fragrance. Child of the enigmatically proliferating forest was the panoramically motley entrenchment of vividly uninhibited nature and philandering animal. Child of the ardently towering mountain was the indomitably united civilization of brilliantly unfettered strength. Child of the resplendently milky moon was the fantastically fathomless pond of euphorically twinkling shine. Child of the innovatively blessed mind was the untamed whirlpool of rapaciously surreal and joyously unblemished dreams. Child of the seductively clandestine night was the unparalleled cavern of impregnably unending and fascinatingly miraculous sensuousness. Child of the insupportably true artist was the timeless wind of magically bestowing and eternally fructifying poetry. Child of the unflinchingly altruistic soldier was the sword of unassailably scintillating and pricelessly inimitable patriotism. Child of the infallibly unrelenting optimism, was the unshakably undaunted epitome of astoundingly redolent and perpetually blossoming success. Child of the vibrantly soaring butterfly, was the jubilantly emollient and majestically radiant hill of mystically ingenious frolic. Child of the uncontrollably fluttering shadow, was the abysmally tranquil cave of enticingly glorious and bounteously benign mysticism. Child of the immutably egalitarian mirror, was the arrow of perennially spawning and limitlessly invincible righteousness. Child of the royally embossed lexicon, was the astonishingly eclectic treasure house of convivially perspicacious and pragmatically opulent words. Child of the ingratiatingly princely breath, was the chapter of unconquerably sparkling and iridescently tireless life. Child of selflessly bonding symbiotism, was the philanthropically undefeatable religion of pricelessly benign and rhapsodically heavenly humanity. Child of the insatiably thundering heart, was the victorious paradise of fathomlessly abounding and immortally divine love. And child of the omnipresently almighty Lord, was the inscrutably stupefying shell of the entire universe. And child of the omnipresently almighty Lord, was the inscrutably stupefying shell of this entire universe. Shell of this entire universe, on which organism of every size, shape and color for him was wonderfully alike, on which he holistically coalesced one and all in the mantra of mankind, on which he holistically coalesced one and all in the mantra of mankind, on which he showered love, love and only endless love, on which he showered love, love and only endless love, on which he fearlessly paraded as the ultimate master for times till even beyond infinite infinity, until the moment he liked, on which he fearlessly paraded as the ultimate master for times till even beyond infinite infinity, until the moment he liked, until the moment he liked. So here is a poem of mine titled Love is the Most Sacred Form of God, from this book of mine. So I'll give you a recitation of this poem. Love is the most sacred form of God. Love is a cloudburst of emotions, a torrential downpour of feelings from the innermost core of the heart. Love is a rainbow of mesmerizing colors, effusively portraying the insatiably volatile urges of existence. Love is a fathomless art encompassing the most exotic elements of bountiful creation. Love is an immortal seed which blossoms into a festoon of blissfully invincible relationships. Love is an ocean of benevolence which propagates its ubiquitous essence all across the territories of this colossal universe. Love is a tantalizing fountain which showers its droplets of philanthropic gratitude uninhibitedly on all who happen to trespass its sacred grace. Love is infinite beams of the profusely ecstatic sun, shimmering a path of optimistic hope in the lives of those deluged with inexplicable despair. Love is a melodious song which enthralls and profoundly captivates even the most remotely alien in the swirl of its enchanting cadence. Love is an overwhelmingly turbulent storm which thoroughly incarcerates even the most prejudiced of individuals in the aura of its poignant form. Love is an impregnable bridge, getting more and more fortified with the thunderously throbbing intensity of fervent breath. Love is a stupendously fragrant flower, dissipating its unbiased scent in every disastrously impoverished soul. Love is a harbinger of peace, a bird which unrelentingly soars high in the clouds of supremely incredulous freedom. Love is an ingratiating fantasy which never ends, culminating into a celestial paradise of insurmountable harmony. Love is an ingratiating fantasy which never ends, culminating into a celestial paradise of insurmountable harmony. Love is a magical wand which heals the most ghastliest of wounds with the divinely ointment of its omniscient caress. Love is a perennially sparkling waterfall which cascades down into a pool of blissfully everlasting contentment. Love is an overwhelmingly precious jewel which keeps on indefatigably scintillating even after the most inconspicuous trace of light fades gruesomely forever. Love is an arrow of unsurpassable victory, possessing the tenacity to permeate through the hearts of even the most diabolical of monsters. Love is a candle which inexorably burns, illuminating the most morbidly gloomy ambience with the formidable glow of compassionate mankind. Love is a mother who induces her intimately caring virtue in each child of the Almighty Creator. Love is an idol of heavenly prosperity. Love is an idol of heavenly prosperity, proliferating at astounding speeds once introduced in the most rawest of its forms. Love is an irrefutably sacred phrase, worshipped by people from all fraternities since centuries immemorial. Love is a resplendently alluring star which radiates marvelous glory of truly benign existence. Love is a resplendently alluring star which radiates marvelous glory of truly benign existence. Love is an island of pure honey, wholeheartedly embracing those shivering in tyrannical agony within the corridors of its rejuvenating warmth. Love is a priceless gift which even all the assimilated power and wealth on this planet miserably failed to purchase. Love is a relentless epic encapsulating the most fabulously exotic rhyme on the trajectory of this earth. Love is the most sacred form of God, instilling omnipotent beams of unshakable unity in every organism inhaling air under blue sky. Love is the most sacred form of God, instilling omnipotent beings of unshakable unity in every organism, inhaling air under blue sky. Over and above all, love is the sole reason why every single entity on this earth exists. In fact, the very beginning of passionately palpitating signs of vital life. Over and above all, love is the sole reason why every single entity on this earth exists. In fact, the very beginning of passionately palpitating signs of vital life. Friends, here is a poem of mine titled Even Before I Could Take Birth, from this book. So, I will give you a recitation of my poem titled Even Before I Could Take Birth. Even before I could open my lips, he had already decided what was I going to speak. The synchronized order in which I would utter each word. Even before I could hoist my foot, he had already decided which portions of earth I would tread on, the intricate path I would weave towards victory. Even before I could open my wardrobe, he had already decided the garments I would adorn, the most minuscule of attire I would use to engulf myself lavishly from head to toe. Even before I could let my mind loose, he had already decided my dreams, the exotic fairies that I would perceive floating delectably in the colossal universe. Even before I could manipulate my fingers, he had already decided what I was going to write. Inundate countless sheets of blank paper with incomprehensible verses of pure literature. Even before I could open my eyes, he had already decided what I would cite. Profoundly admire all the enchanting things that he had evolved in this world. Even before I could turn the pages of the textbook, he had already decided the route of my career, the ensemble of degrees and accolades which I would be bestowed upon in this lifetime of mine. Even before I could feel hungry, he had already decided the food I would consume, the morsels of sumptuous fruit I would masticate and relish in order to appease my gluttony. Even before I could contemplate time, he had already decided the hour which I would blissfully sleep, the hour which I would be as awake as the vivaciously chirping bird. Even before I could lift color, he had already decided the exquisite shapes I would embody on the canvas, capturing the spellbinding beauty of the gargantuan gorge with the rustic strokes of my bushy paint brush. Even before I could raise my hands to fight, he had already decided the unsurpassable territories that I would conquer, the number of diabolical demons which I would trample with the Herculean strength circulating in my arms. Even before I could strain my ears, he had already decided the sounds I would hear, the infinitesimal voices of tinkling feet that would flood my soul with unprecedented happiness. Even before I could love, he had already decided the girl whom I was going to marry, the woman who would make my life, in all respects, solid and blissfully complete, the woman Even before I could love, he had already decided the girl whom I was going to marry, the woman who would make my life in all respects solid and blissfully complete. Even before I could pray, he had already decided the wishes I would ask for, the things I desired to fervently possess by my bedside. Even before I could start to work, he had already decided the color of my sweat, the amount of effort I would have to put in order to metamorphose all my dreams into veritable reality. Even before I commenced from my dwelling, he had already decided the places I would frequent, the roads I would transgress in the course of my adventurous expedition. Even before I could admire my reflection, he had already decided the supremely dainty contours of my face, the perfect physiognomy that a human could ever have been endowed with. Even before I could take my last breath, he had already decided the space in heaven which I would occupy. He had already decided the space in heaven which I would occupy, the balance and equilibrium. The balance and equilibrium of all the good and bad that I had committed on this earth. And even before I could take birth, he had already decided the number of breaths I would take in this life, the actual and exact path it would take, the real route of my destiny. And even before I could take birth, he had already decided the number of breaths. He had already decided the number of breaths I would take in this life, the actual and exact path it would take, the real route of my destiny. The real route of my destiny. Friends, I shall give you a recitation of my poem titled End and Start from this book of mine. So here it is, a recitation of my poem titled End and Start. From exactly the point where the thought process of the miserably decrepit night ended, started the optimistic imagination of brilliantly omnipotent and blessedly purifying daylight. From exactly the point where the thought process of obnoxiously dogmatic lies ended, started the omnipresent imagination of handsomely ebullient. And insupportably righteous truth. From exactly the point where the thought process of obsolete desolation ended, started the vivacious imagination of uninhibitedly free and effulgently majestic happiness. From exactly the point where the thought process of vindictively disparaging drought ended, started the omnipotent imagination of unceasingly rejuvenating and quintessentially euphoric rain. From exactly the point where the thought process of the salaciously marauding parasite ended, started the ubiquitous imagination of sacredly rhapsodic and pricelessly bonding humanity. From exactly the point where the thought process of barbarously incarcerating slavery ended, started the patriotic imagination of limitlessly wonderful and gloriously eternal freedom. From exactly the point where the thought process of dastardly worthless abuse ended, started the prolific imagination of astoundingly spellbinding and beautifully burgeoning procreation. from exactly the point where the thought process of meaninglessly rotting chickenry ended, from exactly the point where the thought process of meaninglessly rotting ended, chickenry ended, started the fragrant imagination of everlastingly embracing and celestially insuperable honesty. From exactly the point where the thought process of haplessly tortured loneliness ended, started the pristine imagination of compassionately embracing and unflinchingly united togetherness. From exactly the point where the thought process of demonically murderous nightmare ended, started the royal imagination of exhilaratingly stupefying and charismatically redolent fantasy. From exactly the point where the thought process of hedonistically uxorious ugliness ended, started the garnished imagination of amazingly nubile and resplendently exotic beauty. From exactly the point where the thought process of maliciously vagrant illiteracy ended, started the discerning imagination of sagaciously enlightening and altruistically magical benevolence. From exactly the point where the thought process of devastatingly terrorizing politics ended, started the iridescent imagination of eclectically vivid and panoramically mitigating artistry. From exactly the point where the thought process of sinfully insidious betrayal ended, started the triumphant imagination of perennially melanging and unbreakably peerless friendship. From exactly the point where the thought process of nonchalantly sadistic oblivion ended, started the blissful imagination of jubilantly enamoring and tantalizingly coalescing melody. From exactly the point where the thought process of sardonically lambasting devilishness ended, started the fecund imagination of unsurpassably Samaritan and enchantingly ameliorating goodness. From exactly the point where the thought process of diabolically prejudiced perfidiousness ended, started the perpetual imagination of immortally unstoppable and aristocratically earnest love. From exactly the point where the thought process of ghoulishly fretful death ended, started the benign imagination of unassailably victorious and omnipresently evolving life. And from exactly the point where the thought process of every worthlessly conceivable and inconceivable, every fecklessly living and non-living, every molecular human and insect on this earth had ended, started the omniscient imagination of the unendingly spawning and boundlessly unconquerable Almighty Lord. And from exactly the point where the thought process of every worthlessly conceivable and inconceivable, every fecklessly living and non-living, every molecular human and insect on this earth had ended, started the omniscient imagination of the unendingly spawning and boundlessly unconquerable Almighty Lord. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'll be giving you now a recitation of my poem titled Only One Door from this book of mine. So here is a recitation of my poem titled Only One Door. When the waves of depression uncontrollably transcended above conceivable limits, not being placated by even the most rhapsodically tantalizing cloud of ebullient happiness, when the dungeons of misery gruesomely exacerbated to limits beyond bizarre recognition, when the dungeons of misery gruesomely exacerbated to limits beyond bizarre recognition, with the most impeccable harbingers of humanity dithering to make the slightest of philanthropic indentation, when the prisons of diabolical insanity vindictively proliferated all the time, and the most melodiously enchanting sagaciousness pathetically staggered to cause even an inconspicuously infinitesimal difference, when all routes leading to blissful prosperity had perpetually closed, being tyrannically whipped by whirlwinds of devilishly horrendous discontent, there was only one door. There was only one door in this entire universe. There was only one door in the entire universe which still had perennially unassailable light. There was only one door which still harbored one and all, irrespective of caste, creed, and spurious religion alike. Oh yes, it was indeed a door which irrefutably led to the omnisciently sacred feet of Almighty Lord. Oh yes, it was indeed a door which irrefutably led to the omnisciently sacred feet of Almighty Lord. It was indeed a door which irrefutably led to the omnisciently sacred feet of Almighty Lord. When disastrous ugliness had taken an incorrigibly rebellious stranglehold over the entire planet, and the most exotically fragrant of bountiful beauty wholesomely stumbling to perpetuate in even a minuscule fraction, when tears of immaculately innocent flowed like unfathomable oceans of anguish, and even the most formidably prudent Panachias despicably failing to comfort them even an inconspicuous iota, when pugnacious thunderbolts of ominous fire rained ferociously from fathomless carpets of sky, and even the most heavenly winds of compassion ghastly dithering to quell them even a remotely obsolete dimension, when gutters of crime and stench had embedded their roots horrifically into sagacious soil, and even the most Herculean of stalwarts being blown apart to ludicrous dust by the most insipid of their voices. There was only one door. There was only one door in this universe which immortally glimmered with vibrant hope and humanity. There was only one door that majestically treated even the most devastatedly maimed as the ultimate crown prince. Oh yes, it was indeed a door which irrefutably led to the invincibly omnipotent aura of the Almighty Lord. Oh yes, it was indeed a door which irrefutably led to the invincibly omnipotent aura of the Almighty Lord. When the orphanages of poverty massacred countless innocuous in their satanically demonic swirl, and even the most astoundingly fresh chapters of evolution nonchalantly succumbing in their benign mission, when every holistic dwelling on this planet gorily collapsed under the treacherous might of murderous manipulation, and even the most benevolent wings of peace being shattered to disdainfully rotting dust, when rivers acrimoniously flowed with waters of pricelessly wailing blood, and even the most salubriously eternal fruits of creation lugubriously drying in their footsteps of alleviating perpetual mankind. When thunderbolts of indiscriminate terror pelted unsparingly upon all those blissfully humanitarian, and the fortress of united solidarity reverberated like an infant under the onslaught of the cold-blooded devil. There was only one door in this universe. There was only one door in this universe which unrelentingly radiated with the charisma of celestially panoramic, existence. There was only one door which uninhibitedly sequestered you. There was only one door which uninhibitedly sequestered you in its compassionately poignant swirl. Oh yes, it was indeed a door which irrefutably led to the impregnably ever-pervading paradise of the omnipresently Almighty Lord. Oh yes, it was indeed a door which irrefutably led to the impregnably ever-pervading paradise of the omnipresently Almighty Lord. When boundless impeccable living were uncouthly lambasted for ostensibly no fault of theirs, and even the most scintillatingly articulate pathways of glorious success now retracting like a mouse into its incarcerated shell. When a savagely insidious carpet of darkness lecherously besieged the sparkling eyes, and even the most enlightening beams of profound optimism despairingly faltering in their progress to trigger hope once again. When the innermost dormitories of the soul and conscience harbor nothing but a dustbin of blatant lies, and even the most patriotic swords of truth incessantly failing to chop acerbic badness from its very roots. When derogatory traps of barbarically snared their fangs on every step that the innocent tread, and even the most mightiest powerhouses of fortitude disgustingly deviating in their way to assist penalized humanity. There was only one door in this universe. There was only one door in this universe which unflinchingly supported the cause of divine righteousness. There was only one door. There was only one door which infinite organisms knocked even in the middle of the whipping midnight. Oh yes, it was indeed a door that irrefutably led to the marvelously forgiving chamber of the unconquerable Almighty Lord. Oh yes, it was indeed a door that irrefutably led to the marvelously forgiving chamber of the unconquerable Almighty Lord. Friends, I shall now give you a recitation of my poem titled A Gift Called Life from this book of mine. So here it is, a recitation of my poem titled A Gift Called Life. In order to augment the glory of the crystalline sky, God inundated it with a festoon of enchantingly misty clouds. God inundated it with a festoon of enchantingly misty clouds. In order to augment the glory of the lanky tree, God flooded its barren surface with a blanket of fresh green leaves. In order to augment the glory of the fleshy palm, God embellished its surface with a myriad of fascinating lines bifurcated into islands and forks. In order to augment the glory of the plain atmosphere, God deluged its gloomy ambience with sizzling rays of brilliant sunlight. In order to augment the glory of the colossal ocean, God imparted its boundless surface with a cavalcade of ravishingly frosty waves. In order to augment the glory of fecund territories of brown soil, God embodied its surface with a wide fraternity of salubrious crop. In order to augment the glory of the voluptuously fathomless jungles, God placed a battalion God placed a battalion of majestic lions on its rustled paths. In order to augment the glory of the towering mountains, God embedded their treacherous slopes with compassionate balls of white snow. In order to augment the glory of the redolently scarlet rose, God granted its demeanor with a seductively exotic scent. In order to augment the glory of the delectably hidden nest, God filled its empty persona with a cluster of stupendously charming and innocuous eggs. In order to augment the glory of the placid night, God blessed its shivering persona with amicably twinkling stars. God blessed its shivering persona with amicably twinkling stars. In order to augment the glory of the gorgeously unsurpassable valley, God lit up its dolorous space with a boisterously pepped up and a stringent echo. In order to augment the glory of the innocuously wandering cow, God imparted it with the prowess of oozing life. God imparted it with the prowess of oozing life, yielding and sacrosanct milk. In order to augment the glory of cascading rain, God impregnated the cosmos with a spellbinding and vivacious rainbow. In order to augment the glory of mammoth stacks of diamonds and gold, God triggered their periphery with a mesmerizing and perennial shine. In order to augment the glory of the blind bat, God granted it with the astounding ability to stick wherever it wanted, to sleep upside down. In order to augment the glory of the blossoming shoots of bountiful grass, God overwhelmed its tips with tantalizingly alluring dewdrops. In order to augment the glory of true love, God gave it the highest priority on His agendas of this unfathomable universe, granted it the virtue of being supremely immortal, and in order to augment the glory of every human, God swamped His dead body with an armory of passionate heartbeats, flooded His dormant lungs with gargantuan bellows of fresh breath, bestowed upon Him the most wonderful gift existing on this planet, a gift that we all know today as life. And in order to augment the glory of every human, God swamped His dead body with an armory of passionate heartbeats, flooded His dormant lungs with gargantuan bellows of fresh breath, bestowed upon Him the most wonderful gift existing on this planet, a gift that we all know today as life. A gift that we all know today as life. Ladies and gentlemen, it truly was an indisputable privilege for me to have given this poetry recitation to you. From the innermost corridor of my heart, I hope that you have liked this video. Thank you so much for listening to me. At any juncture of your existence, of course, you can purchase this book of mine from Amazon.com in the ebook format. Thank you for listening to me.